Hey, I'm Ava, and here's my story. Not a long time ago, I got a younger sister, Cora. I dreamed of a sister for a long time, since I am the only child in my family. But when my sister got adopted, my happiness did not last long. After Cora was adopted into the family, strange and sometimes terrible things began to happen. And I'm sure my little sister was involved. But let's talk about everything in order. When I got a little older, my parents started dreaming about another child. But my mother could not get pregnant for a long time, and when everything worked out, the child was stillborn. The doctors told my mother that she is no longer able to have children. Mom was depressed for a long time. It was difficult for her to recover from such a tragedy. Because of this, her relationship with my dad became worse. My parents tried to pretend that everything was fine. They didn't want their marriage breakdown to affect me. But I suffered, seeing that my family was falling apart. After a while, my parents pulled themselves together and decided to start all over again. They decided not to live in the past and restore harmony to the family. I was already 15 years old. My parents decided to adopt a child. This is a very brave and proud thing to do. After all, if someone cannot have children and someone's parents were taken away, why not help each other to try and become happy again? My parents adopted Cora. She was 12 years old. At first, the parents planned to adopt a younger child into our family, but Cora stood out from the rest of the others. She was very smart, educated, and talented. She had a huge interest in learning and drawing. She treated all adults with respect and was different than kids her age. Cora seemed to be almost perfect. We immediately surrounded her with love and attention. At school, I accompanied her everywhere, took her to classes and was hanging out with her during breaks. It was very difficult for her, as the children teased her because she was adopted. Many knew me and my family well, and when Cora appeared at school, of course it became clear to everyone that she was an adopted child. One boy from school especially made fun of her. Cora couldn't stand it, pushed him and ran out of the school in tears. A couple of weeks later, this boy had an accident. He was riding his bicycle, hurrying home as it was pouring heavily with rain, and suddenly, when he had to slow down, he realized that something was wrong with the bike, and he couldn't stop his bike. At high speed, the boy flew off the bike and severely injured his leg. He had to spend almost a month in the hospital. His dad explained that the pedals were damaged, but no one understood this in detail. This case made me very worried. Could the pedals have gotten broken without any reason? I also noticed how Cora's mood improved dramatically and her eyes sparkled when she heard the story about his accident. But to take revenge on a boy for calling you an orphan? This is a deliberate harm to his health and even life. After all, it's not just putting a button on a chair or pouring water on it. But these were my only guesses, which I did not tell anyone. There were constantly things happening, strange incidents with Cora's classmates who bullied her. Children constantly got into various troubles, were injured or damaged. And in a suspicious way, Cora was always there. Soon, everything became clear. The school, which valued its reputation very much, conducted an investigation and found out that Cora harms those who she does not like. The information was passed on to my mother. She tried to have a serious conversation with Cora at home, warning her that if this happens again, she will be punished. And she needs to pay more attention to her studies as I do. Cora was silent in response, but looked at me in such a way that I realized that something is gonna happen bad. My mom told Dad everything, but he didn't believe her. He accused my mother of clinging to Cora instead of helping her settle in. They had a big fight. And in the morning, opening the closet, my mom found out that all her outfits were cut. Mom immediately ran to her room and woke Cora up. She calmly got out of bed and sat down in front of the mirror to brush her hair. Mother's threats seemed to amuse her. Cora interrupted her mother and sarcastically asked, "And what will you do? Will you beat me? Will you return me to the orphanage? Dad won't let you. He loves me. And if you threaten me, I'll say that you are beating me." Mom and I didn't know what to say to Cora and silently left the room. Since that day, the relationship between my parents began to deteriorate. Dad quarreled with Mom because of her tough attitude towards Cora. But he did not see everything that happened at home. He stayed up late at work, and when he got home, he just went to bed. Mom decided to find out more about Cora's past, but there was no information at the shelter. It turned out that she came to this shelter by accident. After, for unknown reasons, the orphanage in which she grew up burned down, and a lot of people got hurt. When Mom told Dad about this, sharing her suspicions with him, they arranged an interrogation for Cora, but she was silent, and Dad felt sorry for her. He decided to divorce my mother and move with Cora to live with my grandmother. From that moment, I hardly saw my father. And today, I found out that my grandmother died, poisoned by fumes. And they blamed everything on my father. After the divorce, he started drinking heavily. He stopped taking care of Cora, and everyone decided that he killed his mother so that her house would become his property. And Cora also confirmed that Dad was constantly arguing with Grandma, but I didn't believe it. First, my dad and Grandma always had a great relationship. And secondly, the house was already written to him a long time ago. Dad went to jail, and Cora was sent back to me and my mom until she becomes 18 years old. I'm very scared now. I'm afraid of Cora because I know that she's capable of anything. Who is she and what does she want from us? I have asked myself this question hundreds of times. On the internet, I found a lot of information about children from orphanages whose mentality is not all right. There are clinical cases described by psychiatrists. But who will believe me that Cora is so terrible? For everyone, she is an obedient, meek girl. But in fact, she has a terrible monster inside her. I'm very scared now. I fear for my life and my mother's life. And there are 3 long years until Cora finally turns 18. Will I still be alive when this day comes? What should I do? Maybe you can advise how to find a solution to this terrible situation. I look forward to your answers.